So Dramatica is based on that, and we went through and actually mapped out the story mind. We put in this structure, the elements that need to be in it, and then we came up with dynamic rules that you don't see on the page that determine how they can be mixed up and how they can't be mixed up, which ones affect others. If you change one, what does it drag with it when it moves somewhere else? Think of this as a cross between a 3D chess set and a Rubik's Cube. Remember the Rubik's Cube? You could turn, twist, and make things? You'll note about a Rubik's Cube, it's only got 27 pieces. There's like 3 by 3, so it makes 9, and then there's 3 rows back. So there's 27 pieces, and it makes over 40 trillion different combinations with those 27 pieces. And yet with all of that, every corner piece, it always stays a corner piece. A corner piece will never end up in the middle. It'll never end up along the middle of one edge. And a middle edge piece is always going to be a middle edge piece. It can't move to the corner, and it can't move to the center. It's always going to be an edge. So an edge piece is always an edge, corner pieces are always corners, and then you have that one little piece on each side which doesn't touch an edge and doesn't touch a corner, and it's always going to be in the middle. There's no way to move it anywhere else. Why? Because there's these dynamic rules. You get 40 trillion combinations out of 27 pieces, and yet there's something that keeps always a cube. It can't not be a cube. If you could just take a corner piece and a center piece and take them out and move them in position, that would be a whole different ballgame. Then there'd be no structure, and there'd be no way to figure it out, particularly. Infinite number of combinations. Stories have a huge number of combinations. You can carry them to any level of detail you want. In Dramatica, it goes down 4 levels, as you can see here. And in so doing, it creates 32,768 different story structures. Just each one a little different, just like a Rubik's Cube would be a little different. So think of them as kind of a spectrum. Things that are almost identical except a couple of different points have changed in some minor area. That's a different story structure because it's like you saw with Cyrano. You change something and something else has to go with it. So if you change something, it's a little bit different and it has to be played a little bit differently. It may overall feel much the same, but there's going to be a little something that gives it a different twist to the way it feels. Okay? That's what the Dramatica story engine that we put into the software did, is that it takes all these elements and it has these rules for what has to be a corner piece, what has to be an edge piece, and what things are pulled with it, just like when you turn a Rubik's Cube, things on the back side get pulled along with it, how strongly their attraction is. Sometimes you need 4 or 5 different things before you can figure out anything about this one story point because it needs to touch on all those. If you do this one story point, it can affect 5 other things. Sometimes some are directly related, where if you change this, that goes that way. So there are different kinds of relationships in the model. The Dramatica theory allowed us to create that model in Dramatica, which then can find holes when you use it for analysis. It can predict what ought to be in to make a complete story if you don't have a full structure. But we're not here to talk about the software today. I've got plenty of things to do that if you want. I've got, like the Dramatica Software Companion, a little CD that if you're interested, it's $19.95, and it's 4.5 hours of narrated video clips that I created showing you in Section 1 all the key features of Dramatica and how to use them, and in Section 2 how to use Dramatica creatively. So that's available if you want to know more about the software. But we're here for the theory in day 1. Brain melting yet a little? Okay, we're here, and we haven't even gotten started yet, We're not even after lunch, but now you sort of get an idea of Dramatica. And you can sense, I think, that there seems to be something of truth here. There seems to be something of value here, but you probably haven't got a clue how to use any of it, okay? Well, I warned you about that. You won't. This first day, you won't have a clue about how to use any of this. And just let it filter through, and you'll get a sense of structure. The things we'll bring up today, you'll start thinking about things that will seem automatic, that you've seen in everyday life all the time, but you've just never considered before. And now you can use those concepts for your stories. But don't think about trying to manipulate the Rubik's Cube of structure and deal with the psychology. Instead, put that away, pretend there is no grand theory, and just look at it as kind of a bag of tricks as we proceed from here, little perspectives that might give you a little something you can use in a story here and there. And if you take that burden off yourself of trying to understand the big picture, believe me, it took me years to understand this big picture. It ain't going to happen here today for anybody. Don't even try. If you're interested, pursue it. If not, just look at it as a bag of tricks, okay? And these are structural tricks. And tomorrow we'll go into the bag of tricks for passionate storytelling.